Hi, everyone. We are already for over an hour and a half in this AI Agent Disruption Forums, and now it's time for a panel session with amazing guests. And the topic of today's session is let's go back to basics. So implementing AI agents and how to get started and tackle key challenges. And we have three great guests, and we have Marc Teipel from Microsoft. He's an Azure app innovation AI specialist. So welcome to our panel. We also have Szubryt with us, who, among other roles, as I understand, is AI policy lead at Center for AI and Digital Policy. And we also have Dr. Egor Kraev, who is a former head of AI at WISE. It was a recent change, but as far as I know, it's not the end of the AI journey for you in your professional life. So welcome, everyone. And I'm Justyna Kałębasiak, and I'm a delivery lead in commerce portfolio in Netguru, and I will be moderating the panel today. So the aim of this panel is to discuss, as I said, how actually to get started with AI agents and what are the obstacles, what are the key things that everyone should consider. And there will be some questions to all of you. There will be some questions I will direct to some of you, but overall, let's have a discussion, because I know that because you are from different backgrounds, you're from different companies, you have a different experience, you can all chip into all the topics in here. So I would like to start from a very basic question. You know, when you start thinking about, not only you, but what made your company, your team, yourself, in general, start exploring agentic AI? What was the trigger in there? How did it start?
Maybe I can go first on that one. And thank you so much for having me. So I think I would answer it for my team, kind of how we got started, and we work with enterprise customers to implement actually these agentic AI patterns at their applications. But I think for us, what we started is just technical curiosity to understand ourselves, what can we do with it, and then finally also to apply it to our day-to-day job and build our own small agents for our job.
Okay, yeah, so it all starts with curiosity. I think the curiosity is a very good word when you talk about AI in general. And Egor, how was it at your company, or how was it in your experience? What was the trigger?
Well, when the hype wave started rising some 2 years ago, initially I was quite skeptical, and also I've seen actually some of my more capable colleagues be the most skeptical about LLMs, because it's hard to accept that vast parts of your skill set suddenly become obsolete. By no means all of it, but certainly some of it, and that takes some humility to accept it. But then, fortunately, WISE is a very decentralized place, and so I saw people here and there doing fun things with them, and things that sounded like they might be useful. And then I thought, yeah, let's scale it up, let's connect these efforts, and start the learning process. Because one fun thing I've noticed is that if you introduce a new technology or new approach into an organization, even if the approach itself is mature and obviously beneficial, it takes about 2 years for it to be fully integrated into the way things are done. It doesn't matter how good a team, how suitable technology, 2 years. And so I thought, let's kick off the process, let's start the learning, let's get people's brains reshaping.
Yeah, it's a long time, and I believe that not everyone has this time to actually get into the new technology. But Pat, also from your perspective, you're being a leader for a long time. Have you seen anything specific in this area?
I think that one word that will just help me to describe it was out of necessity. Mm-hmm. And I totally agree with Marc that you need to have this inquisitive mindset to be able to explore and experiment and try things. If you, in any organization, if you don't have it, that's kind of a prerequisite. So you need to have this appetite to finding, why we are doing the things we're doing in such a way. Maybe there is other way. And this necessity came because the background of my, let's say, professional acumen is very, very wide. It starts with governance, a little bit of professional doctoral research, but at the same time, I've been in financial market for God knows how many years. And I think that my gray hairs are giving my age at the same time. And there is this strive for improvement in every organization. And they can do it also in ways like we want this efficiency to be augmented with whatever is possible at the current state of reality when it comes to the technology. And yes, there was this new shiny thing as AI, which wasn't that new because we had this like from 50s, 60s, but it's just new. Let's do something. And I think that customers, when I've been consulting, they were asking, okay, so can we do something about that? And we had this conversation. But at the same time, when we reached a point when we started to introduce machine learning or reinforcement learning in organizations, we find out that sometimes human was a bottleneck. And that was the point when you need to connect two different systems together. And you're looking, okay, how we can just move people up the chain and let the automation begin with more autonomous entity, but not connected to human being. And I think that this is the point of necessity. We needed to explore that. And because we were curious, we could do it.
All right, that's actually a perfect opening to this conversation, that we have curiosity, but we also have this necessity. And when we actually talk about AI agents in such, and what you also said, Pat, about when it's a good idea to use them. So Egor, maybe you can tell us, like, from the very basic view, what is the difference between agents and when actually it is a good idea to use them? Is it always?
So first of all, yes, at this point, everybody is saying they're doing agents in one way or the other. And really, in common public usage in marketing, any kind of workflow automation that uses that calls large language model at some point is usually called an agent. But really, in the trade, if you wish, so people who build these things, I would say an agent implies a kind of a feedback loop where an LLM requests some kind of action from the outside world and gets back the results, reacts to it as many times as necessary. And so when you read about agent frameworks, those are the things that enables you. Those are the things it enables you to do. And way you should use them, I think I will go against the trend and say that you should only use them if you can't help it. Like in general, in an enterprise environment, you should always use the dumbest thing that works. And so if you can get away without using an agent, don't. If you can get away with a single agent, don't look at multi-agent. And generally, if you have any kind of process which is logically simple on a conceptual level, and then involves either text or images as either inputs or outputs, then LLMs, including agent-based solutions, are likely to be useful because classical machine learning used to be really, really bad at just that until the LLMs came.
Yep. So, like from hearing you, what I hear is that you should always keep the KISS rule. So you should always keep it simple, and just not overthink about it. And maybe, as you said, it's maybe not for everyone. But Marc, like going forward, when we actually the company decided we want to do something with AI because everyone's doing, or for some other reason, and when they start, where do you see, from your experience, from your observations, where do companies usually struggle when, I don't know, choosing the platform or tools, or what's the smart way of scoping this first implementation? So, like, where to start and how to do it in a smart way.
Yeah, so I like to talk actually usually about the opportunities that you can have with using it. But actually, yeah, you're right. There are a lot of struggles actually that I've seen in projects. So first, now the technology is evolving like so fast. There's so many tools out there, so many frameworks, open source frameworks, etc. out there. Like, you really need to be clear what you want to achieve and then pick something that fits that. And that thing can change within weeks. There's so many new things coming, so that can be hard for some people to actually then make a cut and say, okay, we want to choose something and we go with that. And then it's also something, I mean, there are not many people out there who are really who really have a deep understanding of this. So actually building up that knowledge and keeping up with that constant increase of knowledge is actually also a struggle I see in many organizations. Yeah, and then I think in general, these kind of projects, the technology is so important, like AI in general, it's such a profound shift, new technology, that it's too big to keep it just within some IT or developer department. It's like, I think so many roles are affected by this. So would be great if a lot of roles are actually also involved and are interested in driving these projects.
Yeah, that's true. And also, like AI is, like, as you said, it's not a new thing, but when it started being more public and more available, and now everyone is talking about AI, like, even in shops, even in, in the garden and wherever, in the, like everywhere, it's also hard to keep up, because every week some new thing comes up, and, like, was it a good decision that we chose something? Because now it's a newer thing. So I'm pretty sure that it's very hard to keep up. But having that in mind, like, from your experience also, where do you see that some implementations go off track, and how we can prepare for that, knowing that we want to do something that is successful, and how we can prepare to not like 10 projects and none ended in end result?
Yeah. So I said start with curiosity. I think that's a good advice, but also it doesn't mean only technical curiosity, because I've seen many projects where just people wanted to try out, would this work technically, but actually it wasn't really solving any profound business challenges or like societal challenges out there. So I think start with that first, kind of, and then set the right goals and expectations of what you want to achieve, but also what's feasible. Like, we cannot throw AI on everything and it will magically work somehow. So yeah, setting the right expectations as well, and then making sure what happens after we prove that this works, kind of, that we have a successful proof of concept. What's our road to production, kind of? So that's something that needs to be ensured, I think. Yeah, and then later on also, if it's not a SaaS product, if you build something yourself, is there a team who will kind of keep up evolving this kind of product? Because as I said in the beginning, things change really quickly, and maybe you need to kind of improve or adjust your technology that you used in a year or two, or even less. Yeah.
And I think you touched upon a really interesting thing that I think a lot of companies and a lot of product companies or companies that would like to do something with AI think or ask themselves. And this is like a question to all of you, because you might have different experience or might have a different point of view. Buy or build? Like, which one is better? Is there any better solution? So which one, buy versus build for AI agent? What are your thoughts around that?
Well, I think you would need a combination of both. I think for the back end, these days it's so early days, and even most of the commercial products are so simple under the hood that you're really much better off building your internal capability and building the experience and the internal mind share by building the stuff on the back end. However, anything that's human facing, back-end teams in large organizations are notoriously bad at building good UX. And commercial products live and die with their UX. So if it's something human-facing, maybe buy first, and then look under the hood and see, can we rebuild this if it's not impressive enough.
Okay, so to like do the back-end part build so that you are in control of it, but the front part where you might not be an expert, it's better to rely on someone else with some customization if needed. And
I would add to that there's the cybersecurity and risk assessment that you need to have in mind. And yet we have so many large language models, for instance, on the market that might be or might not be a good choice for customer-facing products. So we need to adhere as well to policy that is related to a country, to a region as well. And then we need to be very mindful about the internal policies and what kind of data are we utilizing in what kind of AI system. And because the spectrum of possibility is so wide, it will be very, very difficult to give you the answer. It also needs to be connected to strategic view of the organization. What is the investment that we are looking for, and for how long? What is it, short term or long term? Just like Marc mentioned, every now and often something new is popping up, to colloquially. But it is in average 2 days we have big milestone introduced, meaning that maybe instead of building, we will just wait. We will learn, we'll create these internal capabilities to a certain extent, but we will wait because maybe the system that we are trying to build will be revealed in the next week or two. So, it is really hard to give you the ultimate answer, but you need to consider both. Sometimes integration with your internal system would require your customized work that needs to be done. And maybe that's the part of your know-how as well. And you want to have all your data at the rest and not in a transit everywhere.
Yeah, and definitely those are like very good questions. I'm not sure, Marc, if you want to like give your
I think on the like buy or build decision, if it's your core in your core company, this area should be somehow AI supported or something or you need that technology, that knowledge in the future, then it's key that you build up that knowledge, and that I think you only learn with using the technology yourself and not just buying a SaaS tool. But on the other hand, if it's not in that area, maybe go for the SaaS tool, and it doesn't need a lot of integration or customization. Go for the SaaS tool, because I've seen companies starting to build something, and then later on a SaaS tool came out, and there are people behind this SaaS tool which improved the SaaS tool, and the own solution somehow maybe is only there at one time and doesn't get improved, or there's not enough capacity to improve that in the future.
Yeah, because it also like depends, as you said, is that the core thing that you want to do? Is that some kind of extra, just to have extra information, and also who is going to maintain it? Because it's like, especially now with AI, it changes constantly, so we need to keep up. Okay, but I would like to actually discuss a bit more on how to use AI agents in a good way in a company, or like, in the modern world. Pat, from your leadership experience, what's the key to actually getting internal buy-in and setting realistic expectations for AI agents?
It's the ultimate question, how to do it.
Tell us.
So I won't give you the silver bullet, but I can give you something that is a kind of a Venn diagram, how to do it so you are more successful. When I look at the statistics, 84 to 95 initiatives are failure. And you can lower it by specific metrics like responsible AI framework by 25%, that scientific numbers, which I researched. And I believe in order to do it, you need to answer yourself 3 questions, maybe more, but 3 for sure. Why, what, and how? Why is like, why? What is the reason why we need to do it? Why you believe that this system can help you? Because ultimately you might answer the question how we can just avoid having these AI agents in our enterprise, maybe. So you need to clearly define the purpose and the benefit that is behind that, because you have to assess at the same time the organizational needs that are connected with strategical point of view. You need to set, just like Marc mentioned, the expectation, but it needs to be realistic. And because there are some constraints, there are limitations of infrastructure, cost, and so forth. And these agents will be able to handle, routine tasks maybe, but at the same time, vast amount of data might not be suitable for that role. And we need to set these expectations really realistically. You need to prioritize after that what needs to be done, so we are in a better state. So that's the second part of the 3 phases system, let's say. And you need to start with, high impact and very low risk. Release it to shallow waters. And it's not because the systems are risky, although they are, but to adopt means people need to go through change. We are not removing human from the equation, but we are trying to augment and enhance them, meaning they need to see the real benefit in their old day-to-day role. And that's so imperative to put in front of them. There is a benefit, and we are not taking it from human in the loop, let's say. So low risk, high impact projects, you need to measure them. That's how you can buy in. We released something, we had these hackathons, and look, this is the great solution. We ensure that there is a transparency, how it is being built, what data we are consuming, what is the outcome, can we trace the outcome, so it's systematic. And then we can address all the concerns of the stakeholders, leadership, and people who might be involved. And that's where you have the how. You can't do it in a silo. You cannot build these ivory towers of great solution, not telling anyone. You need to over-communicate, involve the stakeholders, and foster this nature of collaboration, and provide the training and support to whoever might be needed, because you need to scale it later on. And that's the point when the POC is becoming, the solution to a problem, and you need to measure the success and have these clear metrics. Once you have the metrics and you can communicate, then you can iterate. And I think that's what I've been trying to advocate, and I've been trying to do it. As you can imagine, not every idea is a good idea, but at least through this iterative approach, you can justify very, very quickly, no, we won't go that route. And there are, of course, concerns of ethics, governance, and so forth, which I don't want to go into.
Yeah, like when I was listening to you, I could say that it's like a very important way of doing the change management, because there is a change here. If you want to introduce an AI agent in the company, it's going to change maybe not everyone's life, but depending, of course, what it's going to do. But as you said, you really need people to know why you're doing it. And I really like the over communication, so that that everyone knows why. Everyone knows why we're putting so much effort into it, and what's going to be what's in it for me. Yeah? So everyone knows that, okay, so this is something that will, I don't know, simplify a task or do that. But I really like that. And I think that they're not simple, but they're very important steps.
It sounds simple, but people are difficult, and sometimes this technology is very, very simple. You install it and then you have it. But in fact, to go through the change with people, it's much more difficult, and we need to be on the right side of this.
That's true, and that might be, I think, connected with what we're going to talk about now, because I have a question to Egor regarding when we actually have AI agents in a company or somewhere. What surprised you the most when trying to get agents to work in the wild, in the company, or what surprised you the most when actually putting it into action?
Well, one thing that surprised me was how fragile they were, or how fragile LLMs can be. So back in the GPT-4 days, I wrote a little application which used an agent to evaluate potential contracts, and then when you fed the whole contract into the prompt and the guideline to evaluate, it happily told you, okay, 4% is better than 6%, is bigger than 6%, and therefore this won't do. And if you just fed in the relevant paragraphs with the same question, then it worked fine. But by the same token, what I was surprised is how few use cases I could find for multi-agent systems. And believe me, I looked. Because it's obvious, it seems like an agent is such a cool thing, it works so great. So surely a multi-agent system with multi-agents working as a team could do even better. But really, when you're looking for, I keep coming back in experience, when you're looking to add business value, you really should go for the dumbest thing possible. And you pick one little piece of an existing workflow and you improve this, and the numbers, it really moves the needle. You try to build this revolutionary cool thing with latest technologies, and it's really hard to make it stick.
Yeah, definitely. And it's actually, as you said, it's interesting to see. It's going to be interesting to see how this evolves and how it's going to happen in the future. Actually, if it's going to be any simpler in the future, or it's going to be still the same. And when we say about introducing AI agents in projects, in company, and also very much to what you said, Pat, introducing the change of adding AI agents or actually using AI, what kind of skill set you've noticed that are needed for AI agents projects to succeed? What kind of skill set in people you've noticed that is needed? And Egor, you had startup experience. Marc, you from enterprise, and overall, Pat, for you in leadership. What things do you see is needed for people to adopt it and to for the project to be successful?
That's a very good question, and I have some part of the answer to that. Scientific. I'm doing the research of what skill set and what shift in skills is required to make AI systems in general successfully introduced in UK market in any organization. And of course, some of these skills are already known to all of us. I can give you the preliminary data which came up from my research, and it looks like some people call them soft skills. Nowadays, I'm seeing the trend that is the power skills that are needed. But establishing the leadership part, it's kind of a crucial one. Someone needs to show how this needs to be implemented and communicate and identify these persistent inefficiencies in a system in a very holistic way. Now, we've read loads of books about process and how we can improve process and how sub parts of the system cannot be optimized because they might hinder overall performance of whole system. If we look into very small agent that is just improving one part of our technological process or technological steps in enterprises, we might introduce new bottlenecks. And that's, knowledge from 60s, and we've been, continuously failing with that peculiarly. So I think that ensuring that we have the view and we are leading organization in a different state, it's so important. The second part, we cannot rely on a technology, and you need the skill set to connect the dots that do not exist. And that means you cannot just drop part of the work to AI engineers and data science, because they're great at building these things, but they don't see the viability, the feasibility of the business process on its own. And I think the upskilling and having, and I'll just reinforce what Marc mentioned, the curiosity, this natural ability to question why we are doing it that way, and whatever skill is connected to that is important. And you mentioned that the change management might be important, and I agree with that. From my data, it looks like this empathy of people who are being touched, who are being influenced, or who are being impeded by AI systems is really, really important to acknowledge and to maintain. So this is a human part. Yes, technological skills, but I've seen 8-year-old children trying to do such amazing things nowadays on YouTube that I felt really dumb. Like, oh, why I haven't found about that? But they have this problem-solving skills. They see a problem and they go, just like Dr. Egor mentioned, the easiest possible path of least resistance, just find the solution that will just make it go away. That's the way to go forward. So I think that is from my research and that is from my intuition about the matter, but I'm happy to be challenged in that.
Yeah, Marc, Egor, what's your take on it?
I mean, Pat already cited the research, so what can I add on that? I didn't do much research on that myself, or I haven't read about it, but I can only share kind of what my personal observations a little bit. It's really this leadership that Pat said, like someone needs to also go do and say, okay, we need to act on this and we need to do something, kind of giving the strategic direction. And then you need to people who are willing to change something, but also they need to have the power then, if it's successful, to go further with this and roll that out more broadly. And in general, I think what makes projects successful is if you show your successes, celebrate your successes, and show to everyone, hey, we are on the right track. So then more people will get involved and will try out things themselves.
All right, yeah, so this leadership is coming around in here, that there needs to be like maybe not a mastermind like above it, but like a person who will lead it through, and that's an important skill. And Egor, from your experience, what would be the skill set needed for success of AI agents?
Well, on the one hand, I think so far many people underappreciate to what extent AI is just software. It's actually much easier for a regular software engineer to build AI systems than to build old school machine learning systems where you train models and deal with model artifacts and all of those things. But beyond that, one thing that I found is even more necessary than in other projects is education and convincing. convincing privacy, for example, that if you're using cloud provider anyway, then using a large language model that's hosted by that cloud provider is not any less safe than hosting your own. It's simply cheaper. Convincing IT that Python is a real language. Convincing project managers that LLMs are not magic and that they have limitations. So all this education and convincing, because it's a really new way of doing things, and for it to work, everybody must understand what is it for, and how to use it.
Yeah, definitely. And I really like what you said. I think also Marc said earlier that AI is not magic and it will not do everything, or it will not do everything by itself. But it is something with a lot of possibilities, a lot of capabilities, and for sure with big future ahead. So I hope that as we need to wrap up now, our half an hour is over. It went really quickly. But I believe that getting started and tackling key challenges when we talk about AI agents is similar, as I would say, to any other project that you come with, that you need to know why you want to do it and why you're choosing the specific way of doing it, and also persuade others that it's a good idea, so that they will be using it once it's created, and they will be like the sponsors and the people who are using it, and not distractors, and that then it can be a success. Thank you very much, Pat, Marc, and Egor. Good luck with any of your AI agents or AI projects, and hopefully there will be successes and you won't have any failures on the way.
Thank you very much.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you.